And welcome back to another episode of Life in Prison. As always, my name is Zach. So for the ones who don't know, unfortunately, I spent 5 years of my life in maximum security prison, West Virginia, Mount Olive Correctional Complex, and Huntsville Correctional Center. Since returning, I've got my medical degree, and I'm currently working in urgent care helping others who unfortunately cannot help themselves. What I do in videos is I speak about my time in prison along with getting out. I also do interviews with inmates still locked up in prison, showing you a first-hand look what it's actually like living in prison, regardless if it's for murder, spitting a life sentence, drugs, stealing, regardless, all across the board, just showing you what it's really like living life in prison. So if you haven't already done it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification button so you'll be first informed when I upload. And if you enjoy the video, go ahead and give it a like. So today what we're going to be talking about is dealing with addiction in prison. So a lot of times it's kind of hard actually getting addicted to drugs while in jail and in prison unless you have pretty much an abundant supply of drugs. Now, before I ever actually went to prison, people always said, oh, in prison it's easier to find drugs in there than it is on the streets. Well, it's like yes and no. For one, first you have to know who to go to, and not every time they're gonna fuck with you. You get what I'm saying? Like, just because you might know who actually has the shit doesn't mean you can just approach them and ask them, hey, do you got the shit? Because they might fuck you up. Because why the fuck do you know that they sell drugs, right? Then again, it also boils down to money too. Drugs in prison is not the same price as it is here on the streets. You gotta think, a cigarette costs $10 for just one cigarette, right? Pretty much a line of coke, a line of dope, or pills will cost you $50, $100, and up easily. So when you got Suboxone strips, they're costing $700 to $1,000 in prison and in jail, but they're only $5 to $10 here on the streets. You can kind of get an understanding of it's kind of expensive to become a drug addict in prison. I'm gonna bring up somebody that I know that eventually ended up getting addicted to drugs, right? But the thing is, he was the one that was actually hitting on the drugs. So for the sake of this video, we're gonna call him Billy. What the drug was it was K2. Up in maximum security prison, it's kind of hard getting stuff in. So whenever you do find whatever form, and it's a free-flowing form, then you can get whatever you want in. It's just trying to find how to get it in is the difficult part. Once you get it in, that's the easy part. Before they start photocopying every type of mail you can think of, they used to get K2 sent in on these sheets of paper, as I've talked about before in my videos. Well, the thing is with K2, it's a chemical, an unknown chemical. So we don't know what this stuff is, and we are smoking it, inhaling it like nothing, right? So we're gonna eventually get addicted to whatever substance we're putting into our body. So this boy Billy, right? He was pretty much the plug. The thing is, Billy wasn't affiliated with any type of gang or organization. He was an outsider, right? He was a lone ranger. But because of who he was, they put him up on the gang unit, as in 70 individuals, and about 50 of them are gang-related, gang ties, and the majority of them are actually the tops of those gangs in the maximum security prison. So what this boy ended up doing was, since he was the man, right? At the beginning, this boy was the man. He was a younger dude, but he was the man, right? What he would do is he went to every top and started breaking bread with every single top, period. Smart thing, because now no one's gonna fuck with him because you're gonna be interrupting money flow between 6 different gangs. He was addicted to his own product. Think about getting, I don't know, 50 to 100 sheets of paper, right? Letters. Think about getting 50 to 100 letters, right? A week. Now, each one of those letters is worth about $200 to $500 a piece, right? And he is consistently getting this shit in. He was smoking down heavily. He would smoke with everybody. He would look out for everybody. He had a pretty easy ride, to be honest with you. No one fucked with him like that. No one pressed him ever because, like I said, he was the money man. Thing is, he smoked so much that he literally became addicted to this paper. And whenever things did get hit or didn't work out and he wasn't able to get stuff in, there's a lot of people that started going through withdrawals. So what this K2 thing did was, most of the time it was like a drug high. Sometimes it was like you was a fucking space cadet. So this shit would take you to a whole nother orbit, right? Well, whenever you're smoking this stuff, man, I've seen people pass the fuck out in front of COs. I've seen Billy turn sheet white just because he ended up getting sick and throwing up, and I mean on multiple occasions. I've seen this boy turn white. I've seen this boy turn green, like crazy. He'd be out there on the pod fucked up, nodding out off this K2 shit. People would withdraw, they'd have the shakes, they'd have the diarrhea, like it was bad. And whenever this shit would hit, the whole pod would smell like burning pine cones. That's when you knew someone was smoking the schnape. See, up there, we called this K2 paper schnaper. So whenever someone was smoking this schnape, burnt pine cones, that's all you smell on the pod.
Bates, take that to your cell. Bates, take that to your cell.
At the end of the day, they knew it'd be more work for them to come in, try to find something on us, right? And then not only that, go down, take us down to intake to go pee in a cup. All for nothing. It was a fruitless mission. So then they end up looking stupid. So after a while, they just gave up. Now, before they started photocopying all the mail coming in, like I said, that was the way of it coming in. Every facility that's ever been hit, that's exactly what they do. The regional jails, they do it. They all photocopy all the mail just because of this is how crazy it was back in the day. Because they couldn't understand why people were walking around with random bits of paper cut up in their pocket. After it started kind of connecting and clicking together, that's when they started hitting people. By then, it was too late. You have fiends across the whole prison. You gotta think, these are sheets of paper people are selling. So people started breaking it down, and then now people that could afford the smaller pieces were buying it. If they bought enough, they get addicted. I don't know how many times people have been robbed for their PlayStations, for their TVs, for their radios, for their sneakers, for their khaki clothes. People would get robbed for khaki clothes. An abundance of things. Now, another thing I ended up seeing was people were getting addicted to coke and to dope. So whenever they'd have these family picnics once a year, the ones who weren't eligible were able to go out and have this family picnic with their families. Now, it'd be like 200 or 300 inmates would go out and have this family day with their people. The amount of family members that could come per inmate was like 1 to like 5 or 6 members. So there's a lot of people out there. They had a lot of things for the kids also. Inflatable bounce houses, they had dunking contests, they had a bunch of stuff for the kids. You could get your face painted stuff. So during this time was when people were getting stuff sent in. Now, the way people were getting stuff sent in was obviously across the board. People have been hit having things on their children like babies, right? Stuff stuffed in their baby's diaper to then pass over, because the family picnic is a lot more easier to get stuff sent in opposed if you were to go to a normal visit where there's COs on the cameras and in person just hawking you and watching you the whole time. The family picnic is they bring more COs in and have a bunch of drug sniffing dogs, but not all eyes are on you the whole time. So obviously people would go in, suitcase this drugs, whatever it would be. You know, they go in the porta potty, stick this stuff in their butt, in their prison suitcase, and bring it back into the prison. Now, even though we get strip searched before coming back in, obviously people ingest things and then poop it out later and blah, blah, blah. But crack, heroin, coke, meth, e-pills, we're all getting sent in. And I mean, I've seen ounces of crack, coke, and dope while in prison. Now, stuff like that, you can make well over 6 figures or something like that if you broke it down wisely and distribute it. The thing is, now the people that are taking these drugs are getting addicted to these drugs. And once it runs out, that's all that there is until a whole nother year or until your money runs out. Then, unfortunately, that's when the robberies start coming. Like I said, people would get beat up on the regular basis. There would be so many CD players stuffed and hidden somewhere on the center yards because someone from a different pod was trying to get this over to there so they could then get this back. Like I said, whenever people start getting addicted to drugs in prison, I'm not gonna say it's comical, but it kind of is. Watching them go through this misery that pretty much that got them sent there in the first place, it was crazy. People would be shitting on themselves in the showers. People would be pooping on themselves in the chow hall just because their stomachs were so fucked up because they're coming off this stuff. Now, anybody watching these videos, have you ever been locked up while people were going through withdrawals? And this isn't in jail. This is in prison. How many times have you guys seen anybody get strung out while you're in prison? Go ahead and put that in the comment below. This is just a short video on people getting addicted to drugs in prison. There's not going to be a way to stop it, unfortunately. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification button so you'll be first informed when I upload. I greatly appreciate you guys' support. I hope you guys keep coming back for more great content. As always, I send my utmost love, loyalty, respect. Keep pushing positivity. I hope you guys come back for more. We gone.